I was looking at the Alseta data this morning before we started recording, and there's a number in there that I had to triple check it.
Oh, the churn stat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, we talk about churn constantly on this deep dive.
Yeah.
Basically the heartbeat of any recurring revenue business.
Right.
But usually we're analyzing why people hate the product or maybe why they switch to a competitor.
Right. The voluntary churn, the product just failed the user.
Exactly. But Alseta claims that involuntary churn, so people leaving because of billing errors or expired cards or false fraud flags, that accounts for 20 to 40% of all churn.
It is wild.
It's a massive chunk of revenue just vanishing into thin air. And it's not because the customer wanted to leave.
Yeah.
It's just because the infrastructure broke.
It really is the silent killer. And honestly, it sets the stage perfectly for what we're digging into today. Because we are looking at a huge stack of sources today. We've got the Bessemer Venture Partners playbook. We've got technical documentation from Orb and Metronome, stuff from Y Combinator. And they all point to this one unavoidable conclusion.
Which it's
2026, and the whole set it and forget it era of monetization is completely dead.
Yeah, and the premise we're looking at today is that how companies charge is becoming just as important as what they sell. Because it feels like for the last, 15 years, the playbook was just so simple.
Oh, absolutely.
You build a SaaS tool, you charge $20 a month per user, and you just focus entirely on growth.
Yeah.
But most founders, they pick a billing platform like they pick lunch.
Yeah, whatever's familiar.
Right, whatever a friend recommended. And then 6 months later, they find themselves stuck with this system that's just leaking revenue. So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack this massive shift in the landscape.
Right. Specifically how AI is forcing companies to move away from those simple subscriptions and toward complex, usage-based or hybrid models.
We're going to cover SaaS, we'll get into creator monetization platforms, explain why flat fees are dying, and even get into the actual psychology behind pricing power.
It's a lot of ground to cover.
It is. So let's start with the AI disruption. Let's unpack this shift from what the Metronome blog calls the access era to the value era. Because on the surface, a subscription seems like the perfect business model.
Investors certainly love it.
Right, it's predictable. So why is AI forcing us to abandon it?
Well, it really comes down to the underlying cost structure. So in the traditional SaaS world, if you think about a CRM or a project management tool, the marginal cost of adding one more user is effectively zero.
Right, the software is already built, hosting is cheap.
Exactly. Whether that user logs in once a month or they're clicking around every 5 minutes, it costs the vendor basically pennies. But AI is fundamentally different, and the Bessemer playbook highlights this brutally. AI has real CubGS.
Cost of goods sold?
Yes. Every single time a user types a prompt, you are spinning up a GPU. You are literally burning electricity. You're paying OpenAI or Anthropic for tokens.
So there's a hard cost tied to every single action.
Exactly. So if you charge a flat $20 subscription and you have a real power user running complex queries all day long, that customer isn't just less profitable.
They're actively losing you money.
They are bankrupting you. You're completely underwater. The flat fee actually penalizes the vendor for having highly engaged users.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
And that forces a move toward usage-based processing. But looking at the sources, it's not just about covering those compute costs, is it? It's about value alignment.
Right. And Bessemer makes a really critical distinction here between what they call co-pilots and agents. And this totally determines whether a product has a soft ROI or a hard ROI.
This was the part that finally made it click for me. So soft ROI is like, it helps me write an email 10% faster.
Right. A co-pilot just assists you. It makes you a little more efficient. And that's nice, but it's really fuzzy. It is incredibly hard to attribute an exact dollar amount to, better emails.
Yeah.
That's soft ROI. And it's very hard to charge a premium for that because the CFO of the company buying it looks at the bill and asks, do we really need this?
Versus the agent model.
Yeah.
The example in the research was IntercomFin.
IntercomFin is fascinating. They don't charge for the software access at all. They charge 99 cents per resolution. That is hard ROI.
But wait, how do they define a resolution? Because that seems really tricky to nail down.
Oh, that's the entire engineering challenge. They have to technically verify that the AI successfully answered the question and that the customer didn't request a human agent immediately after.
Okay.
But once you solve that attribution problem, your pricing power is immense. Because think about it. If it costs a company $8 in human labor to solve a support ticket and Intercom comes in and does it for 99 cents, the math is undeniable.
It's a no-brainer.
You aren't selling software anymore. You are selling a guaranteed result.
See, that sounds amazing for the vendor. But as a buyer, as a business owner, pure usage-based pricing is terrifying.
Oh yeah, the taximeter problem.
Exactly. I don't want to get a bill at the end of the month that's 10 times what I budgeted just because my team went wild experimenting with the AI one week.
Enterprise buyers absolutely hate unpredictability. And that is exactly why we're seeing the rise of the hybrid model. Companies like DeepL and Zenskar are really championing this right now.
How does that work in practice?
So you have a base platform fee, let's say it's $500 a month, and that covers a certain baseline of usage, and it guarantees the vendor at least some predictable revenue.
Okay.
But then you have usage tiers built on top of that base fee if they go over.
So it's the best of both worlds. You get predictability for the CFO, but there's still upside for the vendor if usage totally spikes.
Exactly. But here is the rub. Implementing a hybrid tiered usage-based model is technically a nightmare.
Yeah, I imagine you can't just hack that together over a weekend.
Yeah. Not at all. And that leads us perfectly into the battle of the billing platforms. I was actually surprised by how political this infrastructure choice has become in the tech world.
Right, because you have the massive incumbents like Stripe or Chargebee, and then these new challengers like Orb and Metronome.
It is literally a battle for the soul of the finance stack. I mean, Stripe is obviously the gold standard for payments. If you're a developer, you default to Stripe.
Sure.
But the sources point out that Stripe billing was built primarily for traditional subscriptions. Chargebee too, they're great for that, and for tax compliance.
But they struggle with AI.
Right. Because if you want to do complex, real-time, multi-attribute metering, something like charge 2 cents per 1,000 tokens, but only if the latency was under 200 milliseconds, and also discount it based on their monthly volume.
Wow.
Yeah. If you want to do that on Stripe, you are writing a massive amount of custom code on top of their API.
You're basically building your own billing engine from scratch at that point.
Which is incredibly dangerous and time-consuming. And that's where the challengers come in. The comparison in the technical docs between Orb and Metronome was really revealing. They represent two totally different philosophies.
Let's dig into that. Because on the surface, they both just count usage,
Right.
but the architecture is completely different.
It all comes down to where the logic lives. Orb pitches itself as developer first, and their big thing is raw event ingestion.
Raw event ingestion. Unpack that for us.
It means you send Orb absolutely everything. Every button click, every single API call, every login. You just dump the raw data stream directly into their system.
Okay.
Orb stores all of it. The magic happens later when you actually define your pricing.
Yeah.
Because they have the raw, untouched data, you can create a pricing plan retroactively.
Wait, retroactively? Like a time machine?
Exactly like a time machine.
Yeah.
This is a massive feature for startups. Let's say you launch your AI tool with Price Model A. 3 months go by, and you realize you are losing money on compute costs. With Orb, you can run a pricing simulation on the last 3 months of raw data and ask the system, hey, if we had used Price Model B instead, what would our revenue have been?
That is incredibly valuable. You aren't just guessing in the dark. You're running a simulation on your actual customer's real behavior.
Exactly. You can see exactly who would have churned, who would have paid more, everything. Now compare that approach to Metronome.
Okay, where does Metronome fit in?
Metronome is built for the true enterprise heavyweight think OpenAI scale. Because they handle such massive volume, they typically require you to aggregate the data before it hits their billing system.
Ah, so instead of sending every single raw event, my engineering team has to write code to bundle it all up first.
Yes. You send them hourly summaries or aggregated buckets of usage, and this is incredibly efficient for massive scale. We're talking billions and billions of events.
Right.
But you lose that time machine flexibility. You can't easily rerun a granular simulation on data you've already aggregated and discarded the raw details of.
So Orb is for flexibility and rapid iteration, and Metronome is for massive scale and rigidity.
That's a very fade generalization. Metronome definitely requires a heavier engineering lift up front to define those aggregation rules, whereas Orb lets you just ingest now and model later.
And then there's Alguna, which the Y Combinator source mentioned. They seem to be trying to just kill the whole stack entirely.
Alguna is the all-in-one play. Usually a company has a CPQ tool configure, price, quote, for the sales team. Then they have a billing tool for finance, then a revenue recognition tool for accounting.
And none of them talk to each other properly.